Okay, so let's get into this because we've got this stack of sources, and honestly, it covers a crossover event that I think absolutely nobody saw coming, like zero prediction.
Right. It's pop royalty meets political royalty. Just wow.
Exactly. We're talking Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau, the former Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah.
And the headlines, I mean, they just stop you mid-scroll, don't they?
They really do. The sources are pretty detailed, talking about them making waves, literally, it seems, on a yacht off Santa Barbara. It's a very high-profile, immediate kind of story.
But here's what pulls it away from just, standard tabloid stuff and makes it feel more complex, more human, I guess. The timing. Just 2 days before this yacht picture hits the newsstands, or, well, the internet feeds, Trudeau's ex-wife, Sophie Trudeau, puts out this incredibly soulful video message on Instagram. It felt really raw.
It really did. And that juxtaposition is kind of the heart of what we're digging into today, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. We want to look at the alleged romance, sure, but also the reactions around it and these deeper emotional currents, what's going on beneath the surface with these high-profile splits.
Looking for those little nuggets of insight, maybe, about resilience or self-awareness that perhaps unknowingly they've sort of put out there for us.
Exactly. And Sophie's message is really the perfect place to start because it sets this whole emotional temperature.
It really does. It acts as this perfect counterpoint, like you said, the big public spectacle versus this quiet internal reflection.
The wisdom in that post was it was quite striking.
It absolutely was. The sources really honed in on her central idea, that philosophy she shared, that nothing we love was ever meant to be kept.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a massive reframing, right? Especially after an 18-year public marriage. She defines love not as like owning someone, not possession.
But presence.
But presence.
Yeah.
Simple, variable presence.
And think about it. For someone in her position who, arguably had every reason to feel maybe angry or just robbed of privacy. Oh, completely.
To pivot towards grace like that feels psychologically huge. It's such a powerful display of maturity.
It really is. She effectively chooses grace over bitterness. She even mentioned finding grief, but also growth in the process.
This is so honest.
Yeah, and in a world where these kinds of high-profile divorces often turn into these messy narrative battles, she offers this profoundly universal insight. Letting go isn't the end of love. It's just, it has to transform. It changes form.
That's the bit that just resonates, doesn't it? Whether you're famous or not, it feels like she's giving everyone permission to see that a relationship ending doesn't mean it just vanishes.
Right.
It just, turns a page, changes chapters. But getting there, that takes serious internal work, that kind of self-regulation, to shift from feeling lost to seeing the value in what you had.
It absolutely speaks to that idea of post-traumatic growth. She's managed to process this very public ending and pull out this really deep, distilled meaning from it. She's not just moving on, it feels like she's moving upward, which then makes the next part feel even more jarring. The shift in tone.
Yeah.
2 days after this really powerful introspective piece lands online, boom, headlines explode about the yacht sighting Santa Barbara.
The contrast is just, palpable is the right word. You swing from this quiet, personal philosophy straight into a global spectacle. Katy Perry, Justin Trudeau, yacht, looking cozy.
And the sources didn't really hold back, did they? They suggested something pretty undeniable was happening and happening fast.
No, they didn't. Cozy might even be understating some of the descriptions.
Yeah.
It definitely implied a rapid connection.
And I think it was the sheer speed of that transition that really fueled the, let's call it the social media firestorm.
Oh, yeah.
People were still processing Sophie's kind of poetic goodbye, and then suddenly you hand them this image of the former PM moving forward in the most visually relaxed, almost luxurious way possible.
It's that cognitive dissonance, right? It just generates endless commentary, endless speculation, creates this instant timeline tension.
And Katy Perry, well, she's no stranger to the spotlight. She seemed to lean right into it.
Oh, completely. Very savvy performer. Remember that London concert?
Yes. Right after the news broke, a fan actually proposed to her on stage.
And her response was just gold.
She said something like, "You should have asked me 48 hours ago."
Which is the ultimate public wink, isn't it?
Totally.
It shows she knows exactly what everyone's talking about. She's willing to kind of playfully control the narrative. And it's a clear signal that, the speculation isn't coming from nowhere. It's based on something.
Okay, but let's step back for a second and think about the potential emotional whiplash here. For everyone involved.
Right.
I mean, regardless of how amicable the split was, Seeing your ex-partner of nearly 2 decades post something so raw and resilient about letting go, while you're simultaneously being photographed in a new, very public, potentially romantic situation, that's got to add some kind of emotional weight, right? A burden, maybe.
Oh, it absolutely does. That's the inherent sting, you could say, of public life, your personal healing journey. It instantly becomes a spectator sport.
Yeah.
And that makes everything infinitely harder. You lose that ability to just quietly, privately, figure out your own stuff, your own inner state.
And that's where I think the analysis has to go beyond just, oh, they're dating. When you have two people who've both dealt with intense, like extreme public pressure, Trudeau with the whole political scrutiny thing, Perry with global superstardom demands, when they connect, the forces pulling them together are probably pretty complex.
Exactly, which leads to that big question, right? Is this connection about genuine chemistry? Or is it maybe a shared strategy for escapism? Or realistically, probably a bit of both. I mean, both of them have recently gone through these very high stakes, very visible emotional endings. And shared pain, well, it's one of the fastest, most powerful bonding agents humans have.
That's a really good point. And some of the sources did offer that kind of critical angle, like, yes, shared experience connects them instantly. But I also wonder if part of the connection is rooted in just mutual utility, like a shared protective bubble.
Ooh, interesting. Explain that more.
Well, for two people whose lives are just relentlessly picked apart, finding someone else who actually gets that level of pressure, that must offer huge psychological relief.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So maybe less of a classic rebound and more like a shared emotional strategy.
Maybe. They give each other this kind of mutually beneficial distraction from the scrutiny, like a safe harbor where you don't have to explain that deep existential exhaustion that must come with being that famous.
Okay, I see that. But then there's the danger, right?
Yeah.
Which some of our sources, the ones looking at mental health and fame, pointed out.
The danger of confusing that external distraction with real internal work?
Precisely. When every single move you make is documented, you run the risk of kind of performing your recovery, playing it out for the audience or for the headlines instead of actually integrating the change inside.
Yeah, performing healing. That's a scary thought.
It really is. You might start substituting that adrenaline rush of a new, exciting public connection for the much quieter, often harder work of truly regulating your emotions and finding actual peace.
Because healing isn't linear. We all know that.
Not at all. It's messy. It can be boring sometimes. It's definitely never Instagram perfect. And yet the public, the media, they often expect this neat, tidy, fast narrative.
Which puts enormous pressure on the people involved. When you're constantly under that microscope, your ability to just be authentic must be severely tested.
You could easily start confusing the external validation, the paparazzi shots, the positive headlines, maybe with genuine inner acceptance of what's happened, like the separation.
And this brings us right back around, beautifully actually, to Sophie Trudeau's message.
Doesn't it? Her whole emphasis on presence, not possession. That requires such a radical shift in how you see yourself.
Yeah.
It demands finding fulfillment from within, from your internal self, not from the external role she used to have as the spouse of a world leader.
So her journey, in a way, represents that high road, the path of self-regulation, maturity. She took very public pain and somehow managed to transform it into this piece of universal wisdom.
Right. While the yacht sighting, which is totally understandable, as a pursuit of happiness,
of course,
it maybe represents that more immediate external search for relief, for distraction, perhaps.
And isn't that the core tension for pretty much all of us, famous or not? When we face a huge change, a breakup, losing a job, any kind of loss, do we prioritize the deep, sometimes uncomfortable internal work?
Or do we reach for the immediate, maybe more pleasurable external distraction?
It feels like these big headline figures are really just magnified mirrors, showing us our own struggles. We're all just trying to navigate the messiness of human connection and disconnection.
We're all searching for that sweet spot, that feeling of peace and authenticity in our lives.
Yeah. And the universal truth seems to be that the search for real peace, it has to start inside. Doesn't really matter if your ex is posting poetic stuff online or if you're, chartering a yacht off the California coast.
The internal landscape is where the real work happens.
That really feels like the genuine takeaway from this whole unexpected saga. Love stories rarely just end. They transform.
Sometimes into profound statements about self-worth, And yeah, sometimes they transform into international yacht sightings.
Both are part of the human experience, I guess.
But the underlying lesson, the really meaningful story maybe embedded in all this celebrity news, seems to be Sophie's move. That idea of letting go without losing yourself.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is.
So, as you listening or maybe processing changes in your own life, big or small, we wanted to leave you with this final thought to chew on.
Yeah, a little provocation.
If you were suddenly thrust into that kind of intense public spotlight, facing a major life shift, which path would you lean towards? Would you prioritize the internal work, the messy, private healing?
Or would that temptation for immediate external escapism, that quick relief, just feel too strong to ignore? It's worth thinking about where you find your genuine sense of fulfillment.
Definitely something to mull over.
Until next time, stay curious about the connections you make, value your own inner landscape, and maybe a small piece of advice. Don't check the news headlines while you're out on a first date. Probably just complicates things.